Hello, you absolute lovelies. Let's talk all about The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, this is our first Star Wars in theaters in 7 years, but I also think it is probably the best entryway point into Star Wars for new fans in years. Now, this is a review coming from a casual Star Wars fan that used to be hugely into that world, but is now hugely into comics and other nerddom, but really enjoy diving into the world of Star Wars as a casual fan. I know some of the lore, I know some of the details, but it's not like comics are to me or certain shows and movies outside of this world. This is something I really get to enjoy as a casual fan, and I think this property, this right here, is going to bring in a brand new wave of fans. Now, the way I see Star Wars right now is it's kind of like Marvel in that there are different types of devout fans. There are different styles within the world because there's 12 Star Wars movies now. There is the very serious Star Wars, which is the one I usually am more drawn to. Your Empire Strikes Back, your Andor, your Rogue One, that style and flavor, I think has translated into the modern day and captured modern audiences. But the Return of the Jedi style has been much more on TV. That's been The Mandalorian, all 3 seasons. That's been things like The Skeleton Crew, which is skewing younger and meant to bring in new types of fans. And I think they haven't quite found that in the modern day yet. I think The Skeleton Crew got very close. I think The Acolyte got very close. I think we've had things like Obi-Wan that are appealing to the older fans, but still bring in some new fans, but nothing to scale, I think, in decades. Now, I'm personally an original Star Wars trilogy guy, and then I think there are merit in the other 2 sections, but nothing quite reaches the original for me. And this one, Mandalorian and Grogu, falls right in the middle of my 12 ranking. It's right there at 6. So the things that I think work for this, for me, are it is that fun spirit of adventure and whimsy that comes from Return of the Jedi with some seriousness and some beautiful messages therein. But there's also a really inventive production design and character design and lots, and this surprised me the most, lots of 40s, 50s, 60s, early 70s inspired sci-fi that feels like the very thing that inspired Star Wars in the first place, but with a lot of today's technology. There are character designs in this that are stunning and beautiful. There are frames and style choices that feel so ripped out of like early sci-fi, like Wells, like back in the day, the stuff that you see like covers of on dime store novels that inspired Star Wars itself, captured here. And the movie does have flaws. Let's talk the few flaws that I really can stay spoiler free on. The runtime is crazy. It is a little long and there are parts that lag, but that ties into the positive because the movie is always trying new things. The movie is trying to mix things up between like having, I'm trying not to spoil anything, creature fights, into chase scenes, into iconic Star Wars, space elements. There are things that are integral to Star Wars, but also need to be told differently because it's The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I think they succeed there, but that makes the runtime pretty crazy. Like, there is an entire movie within the first half and then another movie in the second half, and you do kind of feel that, but both halves are interesting. Now, another big flaw is as good as the character designs are, as good as the production design can be, there are times where the CGI is crazy. Like PlayStation 2 moments. And that's hard when you're watching a movie that's so fantastical. The really hard thing is there's so many times the visual effects are seamless and beautiful and stunning, but those artists are never going to get the credit because you don't notice. That's the hard thing about visual effects is when you don't notice the flaw, you're just in a magical world. You notice when it's not working, and there are more shots than not that are working, but the few times that they're not finished or they just didn't get the right lighting or whatever happened to cause that separation, you're fully pulled out, and that is definitely a situation where I noticed. But the positives far, for me, outweigh the negatives. Now, it is interesting to see the reviews that are out so far and people saying this is like a long version of the show. I disagree. I think the production quality and I think the scale of this is very much a theatrical experience. I saw it in IMAX. Thank you for inviting me at early IMAX. I really appreciate it. And I personally think that any high quality screen, anything that is large format, especially IMAX, because this was shot in ratio changes that are not just visually beautifully like pulling you in, but it also emotionally pulls you in. I think that IMAX is a really wonderful way to see this, but I definitely think premium large format. I definitely think this is something for the theater, and it doesn't feel like a bunch of episodes stitched together, which I've read. It feels like a beautiful overarching story. It does feel like it has 2 halves, but at no point does it feel like it could have been better served to be aired on TV. I think that's one of the dangers, actually, of having this blend of film and TV. Marvel's struggling with it right now with what characters feel like homework. Half the characters in Thunderbolts were only from TV shows, and then I think it might have alienated some audience. Other times, characters go through entire arcs on shows. They come back to the movies. What's going on with that now? Like Sam Wilson's Captain America, even though that happened at the end of Endgame and apparently confused a lot of people. I do think that TV film thing is confusing, and The Mandalorian is a TV character. Grogu is known for TV, but this does not feel like a show, but I think our association with it being televised, with it being on your small screen at home, means, oh, it's the same thing. These effects would not get the budget on a small screen. This tone and pace and act structure is not made for TV. There are moments in this that there's some AT-AT scenes that feel like old Star Wars. That doesn't feel like that on TV. I don't care how big the budget gets for a show. It's still much smaller when you're flipping through and it's got to hit 8 episodes. So, or 6 or however many the Mandalorian was. But for me, this felt theatrical. So I definitely disagree with that common review thing. But it does have flaws. Like I said, it's about 6 out of 12 Star Wars for me. There were times I found myself pulled out. There were times that I found myself thinking about what I would have done differently. There were times that I was like, this part of the arc doesn't quite work, but it's well worth where it goes next. And I never felt like I was invalidated for enjoying it. I did at times go, I wonder if this is going to land. And then it pulled back around. A great example, Babu Freak. I'm a big old Babu Freak head. I'm a fan of this character. I do think that using him too much has sullied this race of characters. And there's a lot of these guys in this movie. And at times I was like, I'm kind of losing that luster. But then by the end, I was happy to see him again. Like the physical puppetry in this film always works better than the CGI, because you notice the CGI when it's not working. Again, you don't notice when it is. But the puppetry, this is what a good year for puppets. Between Project Hail Mary and this, 2026 is showing how much we love tangible. There is so much Grogu. There is so much close-up, actual, tangible, interesting character choices. He gets to be a character in this. He gets to have the runtime to actually do things. He has his own act and arc. He has so many things that he gets to do and at times lead. And that's so cool to see. And because he's practical, you get to feel like even when it's silly, it feels fun. I hate that the word silly has become such a negative term. Silly can be good. This movie actually reminds me of another couple silly movies I saw this year that I was surprised by. Mortal Kombat 2, I liked a lot more than I expected. It was silly. It's meant to be. It's on purpose. This has silly moments that are meant to be. They're on purpose with these guys, with Grogu. The shuffling around, the little feet moving, the interactions between them. Now, that can go too far, but it always seemed to loop back around. I just think for a lot of people, maybe it wasn't their thing, how long it spent. But I think it cycled back to very pleasant. I think the ships are really cool. There's a lot of different, I don't know, like I said at the top of this, Star Wars is a casual fandom. There's a lot of really beautiful lore on display. I got some of it. I recognize some things. I think the use of the ships is really cool and dynamic. Obviously, we see in the trailer him getting his ship back, but there's also just this richness to the world of Star Wars, hearing certain sound design cues, the very light political stuff. It is Star Wars. With the stormtroopers and with those elements, I think really suit a younger skewing thing. This doesn't get into things like Andor. It shouldn't. This doesn't get into Rogue One. It shouldn't. Doesn't even get to Empire. It shouldn't. But it does the fun of Return of the Jedi while having a little bit of commentary and a lot of really strong father-son dynamics, really strong messaging in that way. I can say that safely. There is a new elevation of This Is the Way that I really enjoyed. There is a new moment between the two of them that really changed their dynamic, and I love that. And I really think this is a movie where Skeleton Crew, I was like, I'm having fun with this, but I'm not like in a rush to show my kids. I don't have kids yet, but some things when I watch them, I think like, can't wait to show my kids this. This gave me that. This might be the first Star Wars thing I show my children, because A New Hope might be, preteen. This might be like younger than preteen. This might work for a gateway into Star Wars in general, even before A New Hope. And I think that's what Star Wars has been missing. I think it has a lot of really good things for adults. I think it has a lot of things for the fans that have been here for 30 years. My brother's name is Lucas. My dad and I downloaded the episode 1 trailer, and it took 22 hours to download. Then it was tiny. We're talking like 2001 early internet. Took forever to download that trailer just to watch it, because we had to download it. There was no YouTube. There was no way to play anything. You had to physically get the file, which took hours on our computer. I'm a old school, not 70s, I'm not that old, but I'm an old school Star Wars fan. that demo has been, I think, the one they've been trying to hit. And I think a lot of times, obviously, you need to cater to your fans, but there has to be a new generation of fans brought in. And I don't think Skeleton Crew worked for that. I don't think Acolyte worked for that as much as they wanted to. I think this is the sweet spot. I think this ties into Return of the Jedi with two legacy characters, with the Hutts and a Mandalorian, Boba and Jabba, and their now legacy with Brother Rada, and obviously the Mandalorian himself, Din Djarin. And that mostly works. I think Rada got a little bit much at times, but overall he really worked. I think that planet was interesting. I think Martin Scorsese is a scene stealer in this, but I don't think that audience, this new audience, has anything as strong yet until this. So I think this is really strong for an entryway point. I think it's about middle of my Star Wars scale. I'm going to post on social media my top 12. You know, there's 12 properties. Last Jedi's high. It's going to upset some people, and you might have turned off this video by now that I've said that. But I'm a big fan of the serious stuff, and this still appealed to me. This still found a very unique spirit and was very accessible and fun, and the theater was fun, and people were joyous, and it just felt like Star Wars in a theater. It felt alive. And yeah, there are problems. It is a B- for me. I will not give it higher than that. It's probably 3 to 3.5 stars out of 5. But the fun is incredible. It's not going to make my top 10 of the year. But I'm so glad I saw it in the theater, and I look forward to seeing it again. And that's what I wanted. And it's better than I thought I was going to get. So I'm a very happy Star Wars casual fan, and I'm sure this isn't going to work for a lot of people, but I think it's going to work for a lot of new people, and that's really exciting because I love to see fandoms grow. I love to see these worlds get explored by new people and that conversation to grow and people to get to share stuff with others, and Star Wars fans getting to, like, my mom discovered Star Wars through Grogu, and now I get to talk about Star Wars with my mom. I called her the whole drive home, like an hour drive, to talk about this, and she was invested because of the Grogu entry point that brought her to Star Wars, and now that's going to do that again, I think. So I would love to know what you guys think. Please let me know if you've seen it, what you thought in the comments below. This review is, it's about midnight. I wanted to get this up, so this is a little bit more meandering than normal, but please, if you like fandom, if you like nerddom, if you like anything in this vein, hit that subscription bell, join me. I talk a lot of comics, I talk a lot of movies, I talk a lot of TV, and I hope this was your cup of tea. I appreciate you, and I hope if you like Star Wars, you like it too, and I hope your kids like it, because I think that's where we're at with this one especially. So I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to you soon. Let me know what you think in the comments. Bye. This is the way.